Good morning, everybody. If you don't know, my name is Jimmy McGinnis. I'm the student coordinator here at Bethany, and I've got the privilege of getting to come and talk to y'all on New Year's Eve, you lucky ducks. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. So I'm the student coordinator, like I said, so that means I mainly work with middle school and high school students here at Bethany in our Transform and Merge ministries. And I don't know about you, but I absolutely love middle school students. They are some of the strangest bunch of humans on the planet. They're some of the most chaotic yet innocent people in existence. And these are the same people who can look you up and down and reveal your deepest, darkest childhood secret and make you go on a roller coaster of emotions. And then the very next moment can look at you and give you a compliment that you thought no one ever even noticed of you. They are in tune with people's social cues better than any CIA operative that I know, and yet still get the joy of finding out what it looks like to put household items in a microwave. They are a weird bunch of people, some of the most interesting reality TV contestants in my experience. And it seems to be that middle schoolers terrify other adults. I don't know why. But they do. Year after year comes around, the summertime comes, and I have to start ramping up some recruiting strategies of trying to get some new adults into our ministry for our incoming sixth graders, and to make sure that our ministries run functionally and safely and all that jazz. But every year I'm met with this look from another adult. They're looking at me like I've just asked them if they'd be willing to try and learn how to juggle razor-sharp blades blindfolded while standing on a bed of red-hot coals while being told your mom jokes every Wednesday night. I don't get it. But let me tell you why I love I love middle schoolers for many different reasons, but their superpower is that they are able to endure change. They are able to endure so much change. I don't think we give them enough credit or grace for the amount of change that they embody, the bombardments of change that they take on in their middle school life. You know, think about it. Middle school students have just come out of 5 to 6 years of an elementary experience, right? And they've been with pretty much the same group of student body for the last 5 to 6 years. And through that time, they've built some solid relationships, a community of people within their own grade. And there have been a few changes here and there along the way. Like, Timmy had to move away in second grade, and Ashley moved up a grade because she's such a smarty pants. And nobody's seen Trevor since he took that dare to eat whatever it was under that lunch table. But for the most part, they've been with each other since kindergarten. And then they get to middle school, and they get thrown into a new school with 2 to 4 other groups of elementary school kiddos that have all grown up together. And all of a sudden, they're in a mix mash of all sorts of different kind of social dynamics where some new relationships are born, lifelong relationships die, and they are met to navigate this change mostly on their own. And hey, guess what? You also have homework now. Because how many of you could raise your hand right now and claim that middle school was some of the best years of your life? No, I don't see any hands up out there. No. We all have done our due diligence in trying to block out that part of our life, and for the most part have left our middle schoolers today to continue on figuring it out on their own because none of us want to touch those memories with a 100-foot pole. But that isn't the only change that they have to go through. They also, middle schoolers are starting to become experiencing change in developmental capabilities, that they're getting smarter. They're starting to notice things around them, social cues and family dynamics. All of a sudden, they're starting to recognize, like, why was Grandma so ornery towards Aunt Tina this year at Christmas? Or how Grandpa laughed unusually hard when Dad shared that he got another new job this year. Those rose-colored glasses begin to fade for our middle schoolers, and their world isn't so Disney-fied anymore. Because they're starting to become little adults. They're finding out what they like and what they dislike, what they want in their friendships, who they might be, discovering their own autonomy in the world. And I haven't even touched on the P word yet. Puberty. Middle schoolers endure a lot of change. And we all have our own stories from our middle school years and that process that it took to get through it. But middle schoolers have a whole bunch of change that is thrust upon them, and I don't think we recognize it enough, that they are incredible humans that are forced to take change on or take change head on, and they do the best that they can. Because change is scary, right? Or change can be scary. Yet, change is also inevitable. The age-old saying of the only constant in this life is actually change itself. But it's also beautiful in a way, because change is all around us. As much as we might try and avoid it to our detriment sometimes, the idea that change is constant in our life, I wonder if that's because maybe God made it that way. That we experience change around us and within us all the time. And maybe change is actually baked in to creation itself. Because there's beauty in change. Like, I think about every fall season, right? We all like to oogle and ogle over the beautiful changing colors in the leaves. Whenever I drive home on 36 in the fall through the forestry, it's absolutely gorgeous and all those beautiful colors. But the truth of it is those beautiful colors are death. Those leaves are dying. And the only way for that tree to continue to grow is to have to let those leaves die every season. In the spring, new ones come about. That those leaves, using the power of photosynthesis to soak up the sun's rays, have to actually die in order for that tree to continue growing. I think we see that across the board in all sorts of plant life and farming. This cycle of life, death, and resurrection. And we also see it in the animal kingdom. How many of y'all like snakes out there? Okay, there's a hand over here. Yeah, snakes, I don't know, hit or miss, but like they shed their skin every few weeks. Have you ever gone to the zoo and seen the snake enclosures? There's always like chunks of skin laying around in there. It's gross, but they do it. And I hate to tell you this, but you're not that different. You also shed your skin. Luckily, not like a snake, because that would be gross if we just shed our entire bodies every 2 weeks-ish. But no, if you ever gone home and touched your furniture, that's a little bit of you. I hate to tell you. That's a little bit of you. That's your skin cells dying and regenerating. That's a part of who we are and who we've been created to be. The death and resurrection is constant throughout our life. And that you are made of cells all across your body and inside your body that are made to regenerate. It's amazing. Your skin cells, did you know that it takes about 2-ish weeks for all of your skin cells to die and regenerate? That's gross. But also everything inside of you does the same thing. Your bones take about 10 years to regenerate or to die off and regenerate. It's amazing. It's amazing how much life, death, and resurrection is baked into creation itself. So if you go back and look at a photo album or pull up your photo app on your phone and look 10 years back, you are completely a different physical version of yourself, yet you're still you. I think that's magical. But change is inevitable, and I wonder if it's baked into creation itself. The idea of this life and death and resurrection that we attribute to Jesus is fantastic. Like, don't get me wrong, that's wonderful, but I think there might be more to it than just pointing at Jesus as an example of death and resurrection. That we've gotten really good at being able to point at Jesus, but I think we might be able to get a little more comfortable with recognizing death and resurrection around us on a daily basis. And what better time to do that than on New Year's Eve, right? How many of y'all have your New Year's resolutions ready to go? Okay. Some of you still got some time. You still got some time to think about it. But yeah, this is the time of year where we actually invite change into our lives that without resistance. We make plans, we set goals for ourselves, and maybe we'll change along the way to reach those goals. But I want to challenge you today in pondering the question of what might those changes look like if we actually invited God into those New Year's resolutions, and how we might experience our own sense of death and resurrection through our New Year's resolutions into the next year. Because for instance, last year I made the typical, stereotypical resolution that I'm going to eat better and I'm going to work out more, all right? And lo and behold, I've made that promise before, and millions of others have also, but I actually did it. I did it. I lost 100 pounds this past year. I think we have a picture of it up here. Where is it? Maybe we don't. I don't know. Well, just believe me, okay? But yeah, I lost 100 pounds this last year. Oh, there he is. Look at that guy. Holy smokes. I feel like a totally new person. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. But I don't want to just toot my own horn, although I do feel very good. And it was a long road, but I want to tell you a little bit about my own experience of death and resurrection throughout this last year in that goal itself. Because it was not an easy road in the beginning. Because for the first 3 to 6 months, it was a grind. It was a grind, and it was frustrating because I was having to implement new routines into my life, things that weren't normal for me, and I was frustrated. I was so frustrated along the way that when I started trying to get into doing some workouts again, that I struggled to do like 10 push-ups. When I was in high school, I could bench like 200 pounds. It was awesome. And now I'm struggling just to get 10 push-ups in. It was frustrating. Or to get on my elliptical and do 10 to 15 minutes and just be absolutely winded was exhausting. When I knew that I once could do better. And so this voice in my head would criticize me along the way of like, what are you doing? You used to do better. Why can't you do it now? And that little criticizing voice in my head would lead me down the path of, you know what, my workout was terrible today, so I'm just going to indulge and eat that big old bowl of popcorn while I watch a movie tonight. And I would just fall back into my same old routines. And until something clicked, okay? And I wish I could remember what it was that clicked it. I wanted to make up a scenario, but I didn't want to lie to you. I can't remember, but something changed in me where all of a sudden I realized that I had to talk to myself better. I had to love myself a little more and change that mindset that I had that would criticize me every time that I couldn't do as much as I wanted to do, or I couldn't accomplish what I know I once did. And instead of I had to change that voice in my head from a discouraging one to an encouraging one. And so as I started to implement that, it just started to get better. Like, that's all it took. It was just a little bit of encouraging words in my head, and all of a sudden, that snowball effect started getting better and better, and my workouts started getting easier and easier, and avoiding those snacks weren't so tempting anymore. And all it took was a little bit of, you know what, when I did eat that bag of chips, I just had to pat myself on the back, say, you know what, Jimmy, I hope you enjoyed those chips. I hope they were good, because tomorrow you're going to do better. It's okay. I literally had to go stand in the mirror and look at myself and tell myself, you're doing good. You're looking good. You're beautiful. I love you. Have you ever looked in the mirror and talked to yourself like that? It feels weird. But I had to do it, and it took just that little bit of changing my mindset that helped me get into those routines of actually accomplishing that goal. And I'd started to realize in the summertime of this last year that I was actually experiencing my own sense of death and resurrection, that there were parts of me, not only physically was I starting to shed the pounds, but like in me, the mindset that I had to take, the way that I loved myself, changed who I was. That I had to let go of that criticizing voice in my head. I had to let it go, and I had to let it die in order for something new to be reborn in me, to allow room for that love and grace for myself to grow and blossom. Because I went into the year 2023 wanting to feel more confident in my swimsuit and have a little bit more energy in my day, and maybe to last a little longer in this life so I could see who my children might become. But as much as those goals were fine in and of themselves, I came out as a new version of myself that I never anticipated and didn't even know was going to happen. That I was changed from the inside out. And I never anticipated that simply working towards losing weight would help me turn myself around to be able to love myself more and to be able to hold more love and compassion and grace for myself. And so as we come into this New Year's, we're coming into the new year of 2024, and whatever resolutions that you got going on, I hope those goals are set and you might have a plan in place, or maybe you're just kind of winging it. But no matter what, I encourage you to invite God into that process, because we have a God that is the God of life, death, and resurrection. Not just in Jesus, but in creation itself, that we too embody that sense of death and resurrection physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That we can allow ourselves to let things in us die so that newness can come and make us a better version of ourselves. Because I think we could learn a lot from our middle schoolers and how much they take on change with whatever grace they got in them. That they take on change head on, and they take on a lot of change. And I think we could learn a lot from how they start off in 6th grade and how they are completely new people when they go out of their 8th grade year into high school. That you too can allow God in to whatever New Year's resolutions you got going on, and ask yourself the questions of what in you do you need to let go of? What in you do you need to let die in order for something new to come to life, in order to set whatever those goals are? And then you can come back and tell me this time next year. I'd love to hear your story. Tell me what your goals were, but more importantly, tell me, how did God change you and make you into a new creation? Amen? Let's pray. God, thank you so much for this nature that you have, that we are constantly in the midst of change in us, around us, the people around us, the creation that you've put in front of us, Lord, and most importantly, how we point to Jesus Christ as our ultimate death and resurrection, Lord. Help us to remember that we can experience it on a daily basis in our goals that we set in ways that we don't even imagine, God. But thank you that we are not the same we were yesterday or 10 years ago, that you continue to push us to change, become better versions of ourselves. So Lord, be with us in our New Year's resolutions. Whatever those things that we got going on, we invite you into them, not only to reach our goals, but to find out who you have in store for us to become by next year. God, we ask all this in your name, and we love you so much, and you rock our socks. Amen.